Hi.
Hi.
My name is Ben Halfon. I'm the co-author of Our Happy Divorce: How Ending Our Marriage Brought Us Closer Together. And I'm happily joined finally by two of Our Happy Divorce's other co-authors, Wife 1 and Wife 2, Nikki and Nadia.
Hi.
Wait, hold on. You guys need this. I can't hear it.
I hear it.
That's a round.
Yes, because we both put up with you.
This is true.
Susan deserves a round of applause too, because
Well,
she puts up with you.
Speaking of Susan, every week our stream is co-hosted by Susan, Anthony, Kate, Guthrie. Unfortunately,
No, say that again.
what did I say?
Susan, Anthony, and Kate Guthrie.
Susan Guthrie and Kate Anthony. But unfortunately, Kate can't be here. She took a personal day. But Susan is here, and a little bit about Susan is Susan's nationally recognized as one of the top law attorneys and family mediators in the country. She's been helping individuals and families navigate separation and divorce for almost 30 years. She's the founder of Divorce in a Better Way, and she's also the host of Divorce and Beyond podcast. Welcome, Susan. But not Anthony. It's Guthrie.
Oh boy.
It's only been, what, a year?
Yeah.
It's where the dyslexia comes into play.
Oh, it's definitely.
That's okay. I cut
where
you the
the,
slack on that, Ben.
What's that?
I cut you the slack on that.
Once. Well, at least I haven't pronounced your podcast wrong in a year
Every
like I
single
have Kate's.
episode. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm excited about our topic tonight because I met them or through the internet, but we've been talking. We talked about a month ago, and their story is so much like ours. And April and Loren are the wife and former wife of the same man collectively. They co-parent 6 children, all while living in the same neighborhood. During their 3-year custody battle, they encountered several trials and tribulations. Despite the past, these 2 courageous women have worked very hard to create an everlasting friendship. Together, they hope to use their experience to build a community of blended families that focus on putting the family first and to shed a positive light on co-parenting. So, please welcome April and Loren.
April and Loren look like they could be sisters.
They are. Hi, guys.
Hi.
How are you?
We're great. Thank you for having us.
I am so excited to have you. April and I talked, and like I said, the stories are so similar. But if you could sort of fill everybody in on what and who. I mean, look, I just want to show you my research on what I tried to do here, and that was draw a diagram after reading your story of how it sort of all works and how it's.
Can I see this diagram as they explain this to us? Because this is going to be fun.
Yes.
It's very interesting.
So, April and Loren, sort of just give a rundown, if you could, on how you guys are here and husband or wife and ex-wife of the same man.
Wife and wife.
Wife and wife, as Nikki and Nadia refer to each other.
Yeah. I'll try to explain it.
I'll fill in the gaps.
She'll fill in the gaps. So my husband at the time and I moved in to the house next door to where April and her current husband at the time were living. We went through a separation. She went through a separation. And after we were divorced, she fell in love with my ex-husband. So he moved into her house. I moved down the street, 8 houses down, and I actually live with the ex-girlfriend of her ex-husband, who also lives in the neighborhood, and your first ex-husband also lives in the neighborhood. And we all have 6 children.
Whoa.
Wow.
I don't even think I followed that.
Now you know why I needed a diagram.
So my husband and I bought a house in this neighborhood, and Lauren and her husband moved in next door. I got a divorce, and Lauren got a divorce, and I married her husband.
Ex-husband.
John.
Ex-husband.
Yes, I divorced him. And then he moved in here. My second husband moved down the street. He met Roy, yes. He met Heather, who now lives with Lauren down the street. But my first husband retired from the Navy, and he bought a house in this community as well. So he lives across the street with his new wife.
So you live with her ex-husband's ex-girlfriend or girlfriend?
Ex-girlfriend, yes.
Got it.
Oh, that was
Wow.
I'm in there.
You get all right. So
You've been there.
I'm a psychotherapist. We do these genograms. It's like boom, 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 boom.
She's
Get it.
got you all pegged now.
So explain the obviously the relationship that you guys have. From what I read, it didn't obviously never starts off great and equal or great and copacetic, but it takes time. How did you guys develop that relationship? And if you could just sort of take us through how that worked, especially you guys knew each other, right, before
Yeah.
you got married?
We just knew each other as neighbors. Our houses we literally share a fence line, so that's the only really interaction that we had. And once John and Lauren got a divorce, their divorce was much messier than mine was. And I think they just had a lot of, I hate saying the word issues, but I mean, we
had some issues.
So their divorce was not amicable.
No.
And they went through a very bitter custody battle while John and I were
Dating.
dating.
And starting out.
Yeah. And once we got married, of course, I kind of threw myself into that, trying to fix things, but it didn't necessarily work that way.
So there was a lot of pettiness to begin with. This new woman was coming in and around my children, and my ex-husband was fighting me in the court systems and vice versa. And after, all of our bank accounts had been drained and our anxiety and stress levels had been maxed out after 2.5 years, it was time to call a truce. And honestly, it was her and I that ended up forging and mending a relationship. It wasn't necessarily me and my ex-husband initially. She's kind of been the middleman that's really driven him and I co-parenting better.
Were you guys friends, or friendly or friends before you started dating? No, you were just neighbors.
No, not at all. We really only expected to be civil with one another. Yes. We really didn't anticipate.
She didn't expect to fall in love with me.
I didn't.
That's just how it worked.
Everybody expected her to hate me too.
Yeah,
they kept going, you actually like her?
Well, Ben knew that we would get along. Ben told me when we started dating that his soon-to-be ex-wife and I would get along great. And I was like, yeah, right.
Ben's family didn't think so.
I'm just going to finally just be quiet during this conversation and let you ladies, maybe with the help of Susan, sort of guide this conversation, because there's questions I have, but I don't know if they're appropriate, and I don't want to be canceled.
Go ahead, you can ask your questions. You're
ask your dirty questions, Ben.
Oh, no. I won't ask the dirty question, because everybody, I don't know if you guys get it, but to some people, they don't quite get their relationship and our relationship, and is it
a lot of
Polly. People have questioned whether we were involved or swingers also.
Polyamorous.
Polygamists or swingers.
Especially because we live in the same neighborhood, so people. Yes. That's how it all started. There was no swinging involved.
No.
I just answer. I'm like, I don't share well, so that would never work for me.
I'm way too possessive.
I'm way too much of a jerk to share anything.
And personally, I've been there and done that.
Okay,
this is why I don't want to talk.
You're so gross.
I knew this was going to be fun.
I think I just threw up in my mouth.
So really quick before Susan jumps in here, the relationship with John, right, is are you guys, is there a bond that having him as because I know behind my back they won't say it, but there's some power of relatedness that they have where
we say it.
What do you say?
We say that I don't know how the hell she puts up with you.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Teamwork makes the dream work.
And I always say, better her than me.
I agree.
So is that something? Okay. And now is you guys have? I think I lost count, but 5 kids collectively.
6.
6 kids, and how many are with John?
I have 3 with John. We have the 3 boys. They're the youngest ones. And
I have 2 girls with my first husband and 1 son with my second husband.
And so how was the blending of the family? I mean, how has that worked out? I mean, they're at different ages, right?
Yes.
Big spectrum.
My children are much older. My 2 girls, one of them is married and has a child of her own, so they don't live with us. my oldest daughter is 24,
she's 12.
so obviously she doesn't live with us. But my youngest, who is my son, he's going to be 14 next week, so he still lives here. And then we have the 3 boys that are 10,
7, and 5.
Yes. So we didn't have really a big issue blending that part of the family, like with our children. It was more the adults that couldn't blend very well.
The kids were probably just like, oh, this is easy. It's just more friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Susan?
Well, I have to say the thing that floors me about this is, unlike Ben and Nikki, who I've always called the unicorn divorce, but guys, you may lose it because I may be passing it on over here.
Seriously.
Exactly.
I think we deserve to lose it.
Yeah, I'm as a divorce attorney, I'm a little flabbergasted because Ben and Nikki sat down at a Starbucks table 6 or 7 times or 100 times, but they worked out their divorce relatively amicably. And what I'm hearing here is there was actually ongoing custody litigation, which is the worst litigation you can have. And somehow you guys found your way back from that to be a blended family. I am an old divorce attorney, 30 years, never seen it, ever.
It's something that we look back on and we kind of even wonder, did we really go through all of that? I mean, ours was to the extent where we were court ordered to pick our children up, do our drops and pickups at the police department. We were escorted.
Oh my God.
Had in writing.
We couldn't be on each other's property.
Wow.
That's
Like,
right. We couldn't be on each other's property. At one point, we were only communicating via email through our attorneys. So not even seeing one another or speaking to one another. So when we say we went through the worst of the worst, pretty much anything you can check off of hitting the other person with in a custody case, we dealt through. So when you've hit everything and you run out of options and you run out of money, I mean, we really had to try something else.
I do think back and I wonder how, because I think if a friend that I'd been friends with for years had done the things that we had done to each other, we would never speak again. But somehow it brought us together and we're closer than I've ever been with anybody.
And I think it took you and I getting to know each other, hearing your side and hearing my side and being like, okay, we're not just hearing this from an attorney's perspective anymore. Or, what we were being told by the middleman, her husband, my ex-husband.
We were in therapy, and John and I, and our therapist was like, you guys, when I told her, I said, I think that I'm going to try to reach out to Loren one more time. This is the 22nd time, but I think it's going to work this time. She's like, you need to give it up. It's not going to happen. You need to just walk away, wash your hands, know that you've done all that you can do, and you're just not going to win this.
And it took me reaching out.
Yeah.
And then tears, and like it just kind of
did.
So it flipped.
Yeah.
This might be too much of a nosy Nelly question, but was there something that made your divorce so contentious? Like, was there something, or was it just like you guys just decided, like there was just so much that it just made you guys that way? And if you don't want to answer that, please don't answer it.
Everything that we've talked about, we talk about publicly in our blog and whatnot. Very early on, my husband and I at the time met because I was his mistress to his first wife. And so I was pregnant with our first child very young and unexpectedly. And shortly after we had gotten married and had our first child, I found out he had a love child with someone else. And your first year of marriage, that's, a very big thing to work through at 23 years old.
Oh my God, you were a baby.
Yeah, we did. And we went on to have 2 more children, and we moved several times, and we found our roots here in North Carolina. And we kind of had decided, our marriage is maybe not the greatest, but we can at least be friends and be civil and start to amicably separate. And so we did that for about a year, and coming up in our soon-to-be divorce, we both started new relationships and mine was probably our divorce was a month out, I guess. And to find out that he had fallen in love with the next door neighbor I was bitter for no reason, but I was bitter.
But
Good reason.
Give me reason enough.
It happens.
Well, in the beginning, did you ever think maybe they were having an affair? Why we were living there? I mean,
Sure.
that probably took a lot to even
It did because I knew him. So, of course, that's the first thing that came to mind. And for all those years, I still had that in the back of my head. But then knowing her and knowing him, once I got to know her more, I saw a bigger portion of the picture.
Loren, you had brought up your first marriage with Ryan. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
Roy. Ryan.
Ryan. And one of the things that I read about it was you were blessed to be able to call my first ex-husband my best friend to this day.
Yes.
Did that experience with Ryan, and I know you talk I read a blog where you talk very highly of him, help you with your relationship with April, or was that something that was not in the foreground?
I think it did because she could relate to both of my marriages. Both of our marriages mirrored different of each other's marriages. Her first marriage mirrored my second marriage, and her second marriage mirrored my first marriage. So that brought us really close together. We realized that we have a lot more in common than we ever thought we did.
I think when we decided to look at each other as two humans instead of this is my husband's ex-wife and this is my husband's new wife or ex-husband's new wife, that's when we really started to understand each other better. That we were just normal human beings.
But what flipped the switch?
Yeah.
How do you go from full on, we're exchanging our children at the police station, which, I mean, I've been involved in those cases. I know the level of acrimony that happens. How did you flip that switch? People want to know.
Yeah, I want to
know.
Was it
I wouldn't say it's
a trip to
flipping
Peru
of the
or?
switch. No, I think really, I mean,
we knew each other in some aspect. So we had
but
known.
we also watched our children suffer
Yeah.
during that time so much. And as moms,
Yeah.
you don't want to see that. Both of us have very big hearts, and I think as women, we're maternal. We don't want to hurt people just for the sport of it.
Mhm.
And that's what we were doing.
Yeah.
We were just finding
You're right.
ways to hurt the other person, but in the end it was destroying our children. And I had already been through a custody, but my husband and I didn't argue. It was just, here's what we're going to do, and we did it. With John and Lauren, it was a little different, but once we watched what it was doing to mainly their oldest child really suffered the most from all of this. And it was taking a toll on our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health. And Lauren was going through a really rough time with the guy that she was dating. And she just reached out to me. And I'll be honest, I mean, my family, John's family, John, they all really did not want me to pursue a relationship. And
a lot of people stopped
Yeah.
us or wanted to stop us from doing this. Can you trust this person? But the more that we trusted each other and communicated, we could see the change in our children, and that drove us further to keep doing it.
What about, really quick, just touch on the relationship now with John's family? I mean, has that mended itself as well?
I think everyone is coming around now. I think in the beginning, everyone's going to have their hesitancy and wonder, is this fake? Is this real? Are you guys doing this for, clout or something?
How long has it been?
Year and a half, 2 years?
almost 2 years. 2 years next month.
That's right. Oh, their anniversary. They're for like almost 5.
5 years almost. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
There was a question I had, and now I forgot it.
I think people are used to what they're used to, so a lot of times, when you guys are trying to mend your relationship and develop this new relationship, it's also not as juicy as like the fighting and the mudslinging. So people secretly,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure, but like, we go through that too, where it took a while for people to really like understand that, no, we're really friends. Like we really love each other. We enjoy being together and raising our kids together.
How is your relationship with John now? Is your relationship with her better than your relationship with John?
It will always be the case. That will always be the case. Yes. John is a wonderful man. I mean, he really is. We have 3 beautiful sons together. He is a pain in my you-know-what, just like he's a pain in hers, but I wouldn't trade that. I mean, my kids are getting the best of every single version of a parent. So
That's great.
Yeah, that is
I can't get rid of Ben either.
You should have seen the look. I know you guys weren't, but we have it on video and it's being recorded. The look that I got when you said
pain and your. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I hold that title as well, and I hold it. I hold it proudly. Really quick, talk a lot about forgiveness, and again, I would encourage everybody to go to their website, wivestales.com, and when you talk about your openness, it was impressive how open and honest you are about your past, and but talking about forgiveness and how important that was to the process of not only your relationship, but your relationship with John and the kids and just the whole family unit.
That for me, and I know for Loren as well, that was the biggest and hardest thing that we had to do, to think about all those things that were said and done to each other on both sides, and know that in order for us to truly move on and have a good future and have a happy coexistence, even because we didn't think it was going to end up being this, that we had to forgive, truly forgive, and
let it go.
Exactly. And that's what happened.
She's not married to my John. He doesn't exist anymore. So I had to let go of that, and I had to forgive everything, even if it wasn't something that, he had asked for forgiveness or whatnot. It was for my own personal healing to forgive the past, and to see him as a new man and a new type of dad, a new type of husband.
Unfortunately, she's still married to my Ben.
I'm really grateful she's not married to my John.
Oh, Ben.
But you know the difference is,
I love you. You know that.
She loves and accepts that, Ben. You never could.
No.
All right.
And Loren and I talk about that a lot, because she says, I watch you, and John does some of the things that he would do when we were married, and it just gets on her nerves. And she's like, I don't understand how you are just so accepting of that, and how it doesn't just make you want to choke him, but it doesn't.
That's funny. He says that about me and my husband, Chad. He said she looks at him, and there's things that he will do. If I would have done those exact same things, she would have strangled me.
Well, these two are a lot alike. Nikki and Ben.
Hey, therapist, I think that's called love, right? I think that's called unconditional love, when you can accept somebody for exactly who they are. That includes the bad, and that includes the good. And Nikki and I were never able to do any of that close. No. Right?
But
Susan, I know you have some questions for these two.
Well, I just think it's interesting, actually, what you just said about April not being married to the same person you were married to. I find that to be very true. Like, I actually, thinking about all of this, I actually was friends with my ex-husband's girlfriend for a long time, and we got not quite the same reaction, but still that same sort of response from people out there in the world who knew we had had a difficult divorce. And I remember she actually came to me and said, I'm thinking about making this relationship with your ex-husband, deeper, and we might go and make it legal. What can you tell me about him? And that was the one thing that I said, is the person that you're with right now isn't the person that I was married to. And I also pointed out to her, the person that she was friends with, me, was not the same person who was married to I mean, I've changed a lot. I've said it to my current husband. He would not have wanted to be married to the person who was married to that person. So, I think there is that evolution of us as people as well that plays into it. But honestly, there's something special in what you're doing, and maybe Nadia is more fit to talk about this or more prepared to talk about this. There's something in that ability to forgive and look beyond that type of, it's almost a primal animosity when it comes to fighting of your children, and that your place in the family hierarchy and all of that the two of you could walk that back to where you are now, and then extend it out to your extremely blended and extended family is beautiful. I've never heard of people being able to do it. So your secret sauce is definitely something I'm thrilled that you share, because that's one of the things. I mean, Ben and Nikki and Nadia know how much I love our happy divorce. So it's like, you know, as a divorce attorney, I don't hear those stories. I've definitely never heard your story. So it's wonderful. Somebody's got a friend named Melissa who's saying, "Hi, girls."
How do you see that?
I don't know.
Oh, it just popped up in front of Ben's
Ben
face.
has all the power. He tries to have all the power. So he's really happy right now that he has all the power over there that I can't see anything.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and Lauren, if you could talk, you know, I know that obviously, again, from one of your blogs, it said you began down a journey, a road of bitterness, wanting to make him pay for every debt I felt like he owed me. And I thought that was powerful, right? Is that so? If you guys could sort of, I don't know if postmortem is the appropriate word, but take a look at, you know, this bitter fight, and where you are now is great, but maybe what could have happened in the beginning. Everybody has their own journey, and you probably couldn't change it, but some things that, you know, Lauren, maybe that bitterness or working through that earlier. If you have any tips for people out there.
Yeah, working through it earlier is definitely something I wish I would have done. I wish I would have really taken the time after my divorce to properly heal instead of jumping into stuff or projects or boyfriends just because I wanted to be as happy as he was. And I felt like I deserved that happiness that a part of me felt he had taken from me. However, it took me a lot more, a lot many more struggles to really realize that my happiness didn't lie in anyone else's hands, including my ex-husband's. No apologies, no amount of anything that was going to come from him was going to give me any form of happiness. I had to find it in myself. And I would never, ever, ever take that back. The struggles brought me to who I am right now, which is someone that could stand on my own 2 feet and say, I don't need anyone's forgiveness, or I don't need anyone's, what would you say?
You just don't need anybody to justify you.
That's the justification. That's it. That's exactly it. I don't need that at all. I loved the John and the moments that I had with that man and the struggles that we went through together. I would not be the woman I am today. The man that I'm with now gets a completely healed and whole version. And that's the most amazing place to get to.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Lauren
really.
2.0. Now your new man has when you brought him into the equation or the situation, right? I think that's another thing we always talk about.
Is he like, holy crap, what the hell am I getting myself into?
Yes. Yeah, he
needed he needed Ben's diagram.
Yeah.
Bless his heart. I let him know everything day one, just so he had plenty of time to still run. But he has a co-parenting situation as well, and I've become friends with his ex-wife, and they have 2 little girls, and so I'm coming into a new role as a stepmom, and I love it, really.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
It's awesome, except your kid's 17 now. Pain in the butt.
What, her?
That's what a 17-year-old is for.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
You guys lived right next door to each other, right? Before. Now, do you still live in the same houses next door to each other? I know you live in the same neighborhood.
She still lives in the same house. Mine is 8 houses down the street.
We're 8 houses down.
Yeah.
You guys are very similar. It's like a little
very similar.
Wild.
Yeah. It is kind of wild.
It is.
It's nuts.
It is, and you know, one thing that I think that's important that we like to tell people, and I'm sure you had alluded to it earlier, is you know, if somebody had asked us 14 years ago what we wanted our divorce to look like or what we wanted to have happen, it definitely wouldn't be sitting here on a live stream at 5 o'clock on a Monday or whatever time it is, talking about how great our divorce was, and you know, with my ex-wife and my wife across the table. But it was a progress thing. It took time. and I know you guys had talked about this a little bit in this stream. So talk about that and how it's evolved, and probably like us beyond our wildest imaginations.
Yeah, I think that was the hardest thing for me. I grew up, Lauren did as well. We come from broken homes. Our parents weren't together, and I never wanted that for my children. I always imagined I would marry the father of my children and stay with him forever. It just didn't work out. And the type of personality that I have is very controlling, and I can accept that. And it's okay.
She sounds a lot like me.
I was just gonna say.
Could never imagine you say that.
So for this situation, that was so hard for me because I just wanted to come in and take control and say, okay, this is how it's going to be. You're going to do this, and this is going to happen, and we're going to do this, and we're all going to be this perfectly happy family. And that was not the case. So we just had to work a little harder to make sure that we did. And we went against all the odds, and we made our own family. This is not what everybody else, it's not going to work for everybody. We understand that. But a version of us can work for everyone if you want it to.
It's not what anybody told us it was going to look like or suggested what it could look like. We literally decided to just make our own playbook.
I think it's interesting that you guys talked about coming together as mothers and cutting out the middleman, and I think that's a big part of our success too for Nikki and I is we whenever there's...
Wait, am I the middleman?
Well, anything, even if it's text messaging. We do better in person, and
Can we just get you off?
If there's something coming up or if there's something we're concerned about, we really do sit down and talk about it as moms, as friends, as women.
Right.
And we work it out. I mean, we're opposite. We're like, I am not controlling. I am not an alpha female. I'm super laid back. And so I don't care. Like I actually now it's my benefit, she organizes things for me. I like it. I enjoy it. It wasn't an ego.
She calls me over for 2-hour projects at her house in the sun. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, like the ego part doesn't bother me,
We accept and appreciate each other's strengths and weaknesses, I think. That's something that makes our relationship flourish and continue because we just know how each other is, and I know where she can benefit us, and she knows where I can.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, go ahead, Susan.
I was curious because you mentioned earlier that April, you kept trying to reach out. You referenced like 22 times or something like that. I'm not sure if that's literal or figurative, but then it was actually you, Loren, who did the final reach out that was effective or that brought you together or started bringing you together. Was it easier to do that because April had tried so many times?
Yeah, for sure. I knew that she was willing. And I was being stubborn about something, stubborn in the aspect that, well, I should be able to talk to my actual co-parent. Why do I need to work through or talk to you, even though you are the willing party? I don't know why I didn't wake up and just realize it. So when it came down to, I really do need this to work out. I need to effectively co-parent, and I need their help, honestly. I knew as a woman, for whatever reason, I felt safe in reaching out to her. I felt like she is a woman that is trusting. She's been through things that I know I can relate to, and she probably has better advice and a more sound mind than me. So it was comforting. She was the one person. I don't know why. It was like God was just telling me to reach out to April.
It's amazing because women tend to villainize other women, right? We'd have that. Yeah. There's something about our dynamic. Yeah. So it's truly amazing.
I think Lauren and I, we do have that. We have a lot of things in common, but we love the fact of being empowered as women. And I would never take that away from anybody. And I think that's one of the things that Lauren said to me. She's like, the night that she called me, she said, I want to reach out to you mom to mom, and I need you to make me a promise. And I did. And I think I've never broken that promise to her from that day. And I think that building that trust with her, trust is something that every relationship, it's the foundation truly of a good relationship. And once that's gone, it's very hard to rebuild it. And we never had it and it was gone. We just never had it to begin with.
Right, we never
so we
even
had to
had it
build it
whatsoever.
from the beginning. And once we did, and we realized that,
It wasn't going anywhere.
right. We're in this together, and we have the same goal in mind. That's all she wrote.
I didn't mean to fall in love with you.
I know, but it's hard.
I know it is. Now I see why John did.
I know.
Do you guys hang out? Like
Yes.
outside? Like,
yeah.
Like,
Oh, every day. I lived with her for a little while.
Oh, yeah. So John's at the military, and he was gone for a few months. So she just moved in while he was gone.
So the kids didn't have to like float around. We could just be under the same roof for a while.
We
that's
helped.
awesome. That's fantastic.
It is. No, it truly is. I mean, think about what you're telling your children too, and modeling for your children. I mean, beyond doing an exchange at the police station, now you've gone to living
that's
under the
amazing.
same roof together.
Our youngest son has no idea that he has a dad. Really, he just thinks dad's a figure. He thinks he has two moms.
Which is sad. No,
It's amazing. I think it's great.
Because John's been away in the military?
just because we take charge.
We take charge. We're the ones that do everything most of the time.
Yeah, that's
so
not like I do everything.
I see Nikki laughing over there.
Yeah, Ben. Ben just said he does
I'm not-
everything for us.
Never gonna talk bad about fathers because we love them. And John is he's a great father, and he's a very hands-on dad. But as moms, we know that we're in charge of certain things as far as
We're in
kids.
charge of everything.
We are. We're in
It's
charge
just
of things.
different.
No,
It's a
they're-
different. It's
Right.
different.
Everybody has a role, and our role as moms is we are the schedulers, and we are the routine keepers, and all those things. And
The
we
drivers, the chefs,
we work well together.
Yes.
You have lucky children.
I'd never accused you of anything else.
We have one child that wants us to buy a castle so we can all live together.
Oh, wait, that's so cute.
That would be our kids'
Yeah.
dream.
Plus, we just don't have the castle. We all live together.
It's so cute. You can each have your own little corners.
Yeah,
Hour.
one thing that I hear that's very similar to our story, not only Nikki and mine in the beginning, but when we brought Chad and Nadia into our family, is the lack of ego, right? And I know Nikki and I talk about the idea of another man or another woman putting our son to bed or going on a trip. It's still, 14 years later, it's sort of a punch gut sometimes. That is the first reaction because of the ego. But how have you dealt with the swallowing of the pride, or the swallowing of the ego of romance and finance and kids and the whole thing that divorce has to offer?
I don't get prideful anymore. I see it as a blessing. If you want to take my child to Disney World or buy them shoes that I probably can't afford, thank you. Like, for one, thank you. Also, if you want to discipline my child because I can't, by all means, they're listening to you. I have one child that does listen better to her. She has children that listen better to me. I mean, it's kind of just finding that fit, that parent that connects the most with each individual child. When you have, what do we have? Collective parents.
Lots of
A child is bound to connect more with one than the other.
And I learned, and I've, obviously been a mom a little longer than Lauren, but you learn something from everybody. And she's taught me that you don't parent all your children the same way. And it's really helped us all out. I don't know if it's the military family in us, but when you are, I hate saying this because it sounds so horrible, but I enjoy a break. And Lauren enjoys the break. As moms, we're busy. We work full time and we do this. We have another career. And we do all this. We're tired. So if somebody wants to come in and cook dinner for these kids and put them to bed,
by all means,
I'll sit on the couch.
Take them.
Yeah.
That's if I was just doing an interview with a friend for my podcast, and her we did the 5 things I wish I'd known, and her number one thing was, I wish someone told me I'd be happy when my kids were gone on the weekend every once in a while. And she's like, I fought for those weekends. I made it such an issue. And she's like, I love them, but when they're gone.
Yeah, when he leaves, I said, if you weren't my friend, you'd be doing this all on your own for 3-6 months at a time with no help. So you're welcome.
Yep.
That's so true, though.
Now, if John were here, and is he? I mean, I imagine that anybody would pick peace and serenity over hell and toxicity. But does Loren, your relationship with John now? I know he's not the same person, but is it a co-parenting? Sort of, or are you as close and developed your own friendship with him as well?
Oh yeah, John and I definitely have our own friendship, our own bond. I do primarily co-parent with her just because it's convenient and we're talking to each other all day long anyways. But I know that if I ever need anything, John would be there for me in a heartbeat. He's done plenty when he can. So we have just he's not my best friend. She's my best friend.
I think their relationship was a little
we get along now.
Slower to evolve. And
Sure.
it was slower to mend for them because they were married. It's hard.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a hard switch to turn off. That you go from being married to someone to just being their friend. You don't really know.
I think for John too, he's a very conventional person, and his parents have been married for 50 years. So blending families or divorce to him was still taboo, and having your ex-wife around all the time, like he felt it unnecessary. Versus her and I do come from broken homes. We've been divorced, and she's obviously done a co-parenting before. So it's normal for us. It took him a little bit more time for it to be normal to see his ex-wife every day and be as close as we are.
The one thing that I forgot to follow up on was, Loren, your boyfriend now is a co-parent with his ex, and is that a good amicable situation?
It's amazing. Actually, my oldest son,
was it before he met you and you walked into it, or did the influence of...
They've had a good co-parenting since the beginning. They really got it right the first time. And so when I walked into it, I didn't walk into anything. It was just very calm, very peaceful. My oldest son actually is over there right now his ex-wife does a fitness class, and he takes her classes on Mondays. So,
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys are the extended blended. You got to add the extended blended family.
It's like an octopus. It has like arms all over the
They
place.
keep growing.
Yeah. No wonder there's a chart. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Ben's chart didn't do it justice, though.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good.
I don't know. There are way more pieces to that chart.
So, April and Loren, tell us what you have going on in your co-parenting post-chaos podcast, and I see the blended is better hashtag, and you guys just have great stuff. I'd encourage everybody to go to their website and for some raw, real, authentic talk and advice.
So the first season of our podcast, we kind of took it back because one of the ways that Loren and I built our co-parenting relationship and our friendship was to talk about the very beginning, to learn about each other from birth through where we are now. And then our second season, we went into how we deal with things as co-parents. Now we're going to start season 3 pretty soon, and we're just going to go a little
more of the present.
Intimate.
But we have a podcast, and we write a blog which goes into all of our juicy details of our life. So if you're nosy and want to, check it out, it's Co-Parenting Past Chaos. We should be co-parenting in chaos. I thought of that
always
the other day.
in chaos. Yeah.
Rebrand.
Yeah,
Right
change
here.
it up.
Branding a little bit right now. So
Because we were wives' tales because we were the wives. We are still. But we're going to Co-Parenting Past Chaos for everything. Our podcast has already changed. Our website will change soon. And that's it.
Awesome.
I love it.
And then the one thing that got me, which I can't find right now, I thought I wrote it down, is yes, it is very detailed, and I think it was a combination of Jerry Springer, Real Housewives. Somebody had said something to that effect. But again, it's who if you go back. You say you're both from divorced families, and it sort of just all adds up, and you had your first marriages, and it sort of adds up to what it is today. And it was probably I know we had our issues, and my parents divorced, but wouldn't change it for the world if somebody gave me a crystal ball right now. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
It's made us the women we are today, and
Mm-hmm.
for both of us, it's made us much stronger. And we're, what's the word where you just can accept everything and overcome it? We adapt, but
You're
that's not right.
resilient.
Resilient.
Very resilient.
That's a good one.
We're very resilient women because of everything that we've gone through. So I wouldn't change one thing.
Not a moment.
Really quick, just some of the, Nikki and Nadia will bring you into this too. So it's not all, I love that you said past chaos, but during chaos, I mean, at the end of the day, some of this hurdles, struggles, I mean, we try to, at least, as we wrote a book called Our Happy Divorce.
It's not butterflies and rainbows all the time.
It's not, unicorns and rainbow waterfalls like Susan always calls us, but some of the hurdles that you guys have today and how you work through it.
It's hard. I think one of the hardest things is knowing that someone that I love so much hurt another person that I love so much. And a lot of times in our relationship, I am the middleman, and it's me torn between my husband and my best friend.
We walk a fine line with I have to remember that if there's an issue that arises with my quote unquote baby daddy, that is her husband. So there has to be a respectful way to approach that. And sometimes we will tell each other, hey, listen, I need to talk to you right now as a friend, not as a new wife, or I need to talk to you as an ex-wife, not as, a friend or whatnot. So we are very careful and calculated with how we approach our issues with each other. Because I don't want to just come at her about John and just,
in the beginning, we had issues.
Yes.
And we were, you have to remember as well that we were telling stories of how I fell in love with a man that she was still in love with, and thought they were going to work on their marriage. And, we were telling each other
the first time.
Right. Those things. And it was
very
very
hard.
hard.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So
Had to.
Ouch.
Ouch. Double ouch.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I
Nikki
laugh
and Nadia?
at the fact that, whenever I'm pissed off at you and want to kill you, that I will text her and I'll be like, I hate your husband.
It's either she tells me I hate him, or I won't hear from her. Like if it's really serious, like it's like silence.
I'll be like, I am going to kill him.
But usually she does tell me right away that she hates him. She's going to kill him.
Do you know that we're fighting? That's what I'll say. Do you know that we're fighting? Do you know what he said to me?
she'll screenshot and say, look
what your
husband
sent me.
I'm like, oh dear God. Then I have to do
I do
damage
that too.
control and the whole thing.
It's delicate. It's a delicate situation because you love your friend, you're there, but then at the same time, like, that's your husband and you are married.
She knows you're a tool sometimes too, so it's totally fine.
It's hard. It is a delicate balance.
I think Chad and I thought we were good friends. I think we need to develop our friendship a little further.
He would probably go,
so we can,
you get to deal with that
so we
side
can
of
talk
her.
shit about you all day.
You could totally talk shit.
Don't mean to put you on the spot because we didn't really talk about this before, but any tips that come from you or from your experience to people who are maybe just getting divorced and how not necessarily how they can grow into what you have today, but just in that beginning stages.
I think communication, number one, is the most important, and try to never say anything out of anger.
That's
first
a good
of all.
one.
But try to take the middle out of it. Realize that you are human, that you two once loved each other, and you created children out of love. So I always told Lauren and John that, because they were pretty volatile. I'm like, don't you remember that time where you made humans? You loved each other. No, we were back to that. And they wouldn't go back to it. But no, you do. You have to communicate. And no offense to the attorney present, but
No. She's a unicorn. She's transformed.
But you try to stay away from that, because there were several times that John and I visited our attorney, and I said, okay, I'm done with this. I wrote our custody agreement. I rewrote it myself and sent it to Lauren and said, here, send me back what you want.
And we did that several times, and that was the most progress we ever made.
And we took it to the attorney, and I said, here, I did this. Now I want you to sign it and do your thing. And she's like, oh, you're not going to be happy with that. And we went right back again to chaos and turmoil, and you have to just realize that you're human and communicate, and don't be petty.
Love your children more than you hate your ex.
Always.
Susan?
Hard thing to do, but do it.
Yeah. And you do not always need to listen to the attorney. Please do not always listen to the attorney.
No, there's not going to be a winner in a divorce or in a custody battle.
You're going to give up time with your children, and that's what everybody's fighting for. Everybody wants all the kids all the time. We don't.
I don't.
Take them sometimes.
No, after you get over that fact of like the whole custody thing, then you really, then you're like, okay,
Like,
it's kind of nice. Go ahead.
Time.
You want to take the children with you?
But no, it's your
offering
week.
I try to send my kids with her son, and like
Yeah.
I'm like, why don't you take all of them though?
Big bro.
Yeah, take them.
Yeah, unfortunately,
That's what a
he's
17-year-old wants, right?
No, it would be her.
I would take them.
we wouldn't trust our little ones with
adorable.
our 17-year-old boy. I love him to death, but there are.
Minus
My
a brain.
7-year-old daughter's got it pretty on under. She has a very similar personality to her. Very organized, very on top of things.
Responsible.
They get along. Yeah.
One thing, Lauren, you just said that I think to sort of bring this full circle is people are always fighting over the kids, and sometimes fighting over that kids is what you were talking about, is wanting for them to pay a debt and using their kids as blocking and tackling tools or weaponizing their kids. And I think that's where things get a little dicey. Is intentional. What are your intentions?
It's so easy to get caught up doing that. You hear before you go into a divorce, well, don't use the kids as a pawn, or don't play the kids or pin them on each other or the parents. But yet it's very easy to do. It's very easy to get sucked into that rabbit hole.
You do it sometimes and you don't even realize.
Yeah.
But that was the best line: is love your kids more than you hate your ex.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt.
No doubt, that's it. In a nutshell.
Well,
That's
people,
what's got to get you through, especially the beginning of it.
yeah. Well, and you said people are fighting over their kids, but what they're not thinking of are their kids.
Yeah.
They're fighting over
Right.
their own emotional content. They're not thinking about what's best for their kids.
And you're losing out on precious time that you'll never get back. Our children are small for a very short amount of time. My youngest was 2 years old when we divorced, and I missed out on that chunk, and so did his dad. We didn't get to see really or remember the toddler years because we were fighting and bickering so much.
Right.
We weren't enjoying them. We weren't enjoying our children when we did have them.
No, because you miss so much by arguing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
'Cause
all
it just
consuming.
takes over everything. See?
Look,
Lucky.
I need John. I mean, at some point.
You're the one that wanted to do all this.
No, I
and
think it's
now
great.
you
Look,
hate it.
I think it's great. I would take this and being, cut out the middleman, and sometimes I'm that middleman, but I would take this 9.999 times out of 10 over the
You
alternative.
would.
And I appreciate you guys, and we only can keep this thing to an hour because otherwise Susan charges us time and a half, and lawyers are super expensive. So we got to keep
That
it.
part is true.
We know.
Especially one with her pedigree. So the hashtag in the background, blended is better. What is that? Just something people want to do, or what's the call to action there?
We created that hashtag because we don't want to fight. We don't want co-parenting to be a competition. Blended families are better than having a nightmare family.
Yeah.
Where you're just two separate entities. Blend your family. This is our family. We are our family.
The more people you have to love your children, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No.
The more the merrier.
The
Yep.
more the
I
merrier.
do like the difference between blended versus two separate households because it's true. Like we are a family unit together, and it's
Might be two houses, but it's one family.
yeah.
They have a home everywhere they go.
That's a great way to put it. Two
Whatever
houses,
name
one
it is,
family.
it's great. And,
I love
and, we appreciate you guys being on. One more time, just all your social media
decided to
information,
move things.
where people could find you.
So we are on Instagram and Facebook at Co-Parenting Past Chaos. Our website right now is wifestales.com. And we also have a TikTok account, which is at April and Loren.
Oh. I watch TikTok. I don't TikTok. So that's
don't-
now I have
She
to go
watches
find
a
it.
monkey.
I watch monkeys. Monkeys and dogs.
Well, I just followed you on co-parenting past chaos. I gotcha.
Okay,
So,
let's see.
I'm watching. Thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you. And our social media and all that. Kate's not
Yeah.
here, but she will still, because I didn't want to change the slide. But no, of course, everything, Susan in the middle right there in Our Happy Divorce is pretty simple. Everything at Our Happy Divorce. Thank you guys. Thank you for everything you
Nice
do.
meeting you.
And I love having another family like ours on, and the disclaimer at the bottom of the website. Nikki and I say it all the time. We're not lawyers. We're not therapists. We're just human beings who seem to have gotten something right.
Something.
Something.
More of a what
Something.
not to do.
Yeah.
Our new spouses or child post-divorce. We got something right.
Wait, did you just say I got something right? You said you?
Yeah, her.
Me.
All right. Well, thank you guys very
Thank
much.
you guys.
On that
It's so
note,
nice to meet you.
I'm gonna go call my
Nice
divorce
to see
attorney.
you, Susan.
Yeah, it was nice to see all of you.